You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relations? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside yourself for the leader. Then the Hopi elder clasped his hands together, smiled, and said, "This could be a good time. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. No, the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate at this time in history. We are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves, banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we have been waiting for." And that was a message from the Hopi Nation, dear esteemed, honorable, and notable viewer. Perhaps you are expressing concern for the future, for where just exactly our reality is headed to. Perhaps you're watching the local news, much as perhaps in this posture as from the movie Red Dawn. Most of Generation X, my generation, is probably has this posture towards the future. You're going to survive it at all costs. You've got all of your accoutrements and gear and all that, and I'm kind of jesting a little bit, but speaking for myself, before my Kundalini activation, not that I was totally devoid of any spiritual practice, but I had not polarized. I was still, as Master Yeshua says, I was still lukewarm. And, I was trying to cover all my bases and really, going nowhere with many different directions. And many different directions I was going nowhere. However, after my house became in order, and I thank God for that, thank Source, because this Kundalini activation is not something that I planned. I believe I was helped out from above, and perhaps it was always in my soul contract to have this moment in time to happen back in September of 2021, where I experienced the full Kundalini activation, full power of the serpent energy that coursed through my body, with the visualization of the crown chakra, and my merging into the violet oversoul. It was tremendously intense and life-changing. I've made videos about that. But not only did it reconcile me with my spiritual path and my karma to some extent, but it put things into perspective. And I'm going to tell you what the words of the Hopi and the Hopi elders talk about in these earth changes that we're experiencing. Those people who are seeking to ride out and go through these earth changes in their bunkers, surrounded by all their, their guns and AK-47s and all that, that stuff helps out, but that's not necessarily the way that a person thrives or ascends. being focused on that third dimensional reality. And so, speaking as a Gen Xer, I was born in 1969. I want to share, um, my release, as it were, my ascension from all that. Not that I, don't have all that stuff and, spend a lot of time in training and stuff, doing all that, but that has not been my focus since September of 2021. And in fact, I've gone through most of all my freeze dried, mountain house supplies, because it was just hoarding is what I was doing. And I was creating a mental mindset of lack by hoarding. And with these kinds of words that have been shared by the Hopi elders, um, you know, admonishments for the future, it's not those who going to think they're going to ride out these earth changes in their bunkers, you know, well, they may get along to a certain point, but that's not the point of these cosmic ray influxes of energies. It's meant for our light bodies to ascend. And if you're overly preoccupied with your dense physical body of the third dimension, trying to make that survive, well, you're missing the point of this whole once in a lifetime galactic ascension energetics and harvesting that you can achieve. And so this message, I believe, is like the Hopi elder said, the time of the lone wolf is over. And perhaps if there's anybody out there that just cannot escape harmonic universe number one of dimension three, they're just, if they don't believe it, if they can't see it, they don't believe in other dimensions or any of this spiritual stuff, they're just all about their band-aids, beans and bullets, how they're going to make it through the earth changes. Well, look into what the Department of Defense did with a study on a term called psychoenergetics and the CIA gateway process. This is very detailed scientific investigations and reports that are available out there, uh, talking about the reality of consciousness beyond the physical shell. So if you're trapped in the third dimension and looking to, what that's gonna, you're just wanting to preserve that. Well, that's the least of this reality. I mean, this is just a shell for consciousness. It's a meat suit, a human space suit for consciousness here on Terra Space Station number 33. So perhaps this video is for anyone in my generation, Generation X, because I'm pretty sure that these younger generation, these are the leaders, and they're all about the spiritual technology that the younger generation has, the star seeds that are coming that have been incarnating here, the very young kids. I can't even keep up with all that, but just seeing some of the TikTok videos and the well done videos, so perhaps this message they see, oh, this old guy, we've known this stuff, but so perhaps this message is for my generation, for any of those people that are kind of knuckleheads that are just don't it's all everything's woo woo woo. Well, no, begin your investigation with quantum physics, and you're going to see the science of that goes beyond the Newtonian science of five senses and establishes the reality of the quantum observer effect, your consciousness, the reality of your consciousness. And that is what is precious, dear, esteemed, honorable, and noble Generation X viewer. The time of the lone wolf is over. The time of consciousness is here now to arise upon the golden path to the new earth. Namaste, namaskaram.